video, we're going to go over how to create confidence intervals for population proportions. In this example, we are going to use the DCMP Inference for Population Proportion app. And our example is in New York City on October 23rd, 2014, a doctor who had recently been treating Ebola patients in Guinea went to the hospital with a slight fever and was subsequently diagnosed with Ebola. Soon thereafter, the poll found that 82% of New Yorkers favored a mandatory 21-day quarantine for anyone who has come into contact with an Ebola patient. This poll included responses from 1,042 New York adults between October 26th and 28th, 2014. We want to estimate the proportion of New York adults who supported a quarantine for anyone who has come into contact with an Ebola patient. So for this one, again, we're going to go into our number of successes, and we're going to put in our sample size, which is 1,042. Now, this one does not directly tell us how many people were successes or how many people wanted the quarantine, but it does tell us that 82% of them wanted the quarantine. So 82%, so 0.82 times our 1,042. We'll put that into our calculator, and we get 854. So 854 would be our number of successes. So you can see that sample proportion is 82%, which is what we had. If we check this show z-score button, that will give us the z-score for this one. So we have 95% confidence intervals, so the z-score is 1.96. If you take 1.96 times the standard error, you'll get the margin of error. And again, if you add and subtract the margin of error from the point estimate, that's going to give us our confidence interval. So we have our 0.82, 0.82 plus 0.02 gives us the 0.84, minus 0.02 gives us the almost 0.8. So what we have is we are, again, 95% confident because we want our alpha is 0.05, so we want a 95% confidence interval that the true proportion of New Yorkers who support quarantine for anyone who has come into contact with an Ebola patient is between 0.7962 and 0.8429. Or we can say that the percentage is between 79.62% and 84.29%. So the majority of New Yorkers were supporting the quarantine. Again, if we wanted to put labels on this, we could. So we can say the successes would be for quarantine, and the failures would be against quarantine. And if you wanted to change the confidence interval, you could. Say we change it to 99%, you can see the z-score will change, which means the margin of error both increase, which means our confidence interval gets wider. If we were bringing it down, so say we brought it to 90%, you can see the z-score decreases, which means the margin of error decreases, which means our confidence interval gets more narrow. So that is another example of how you estimate population proportions, create confidence intervals using the DCMP data analysis tool.